Well, good morning from Dachau concentration camp. I've just arrived and the entrance actually isn't well marked. It shows the sign for the car park beyond the car park, and you turn into a road and it takes you down a dead end. So I've had to turn around, come back, come into the car park. For a motorcycle it's €3, and for a car it's €5 just to park. So anyway, for that €3 I managed to park right next to the guy that's taken all the money, and he's going to keep an eye on my motorbike and all the gear that's left on there. So I'm expecting to be quite busy. So I'm going to go now down into the concentration camp area and to check it out. There's several coaches here, but I'm expecting there'll be plenty of room there. Okay, here you'll find the general information. Right, there's a car park and showing the entrance into rules and recommendations. Visiting the memorial site is not recommended for children under the age of 12. Fair one. Dogs except guide dogs. Yeah. Baggage storage is not allowed. The grounds and buildings are only accessible to limited extent of persons with disability and impairment. Rainproof clothing, sun protection and sturdy footwear are recommended. So let's go forth and have a look at the place. So this is what you'll see at the entrance. You come round from the car park and this is the road that I've been up and down a couple of times trying to find the entrance to the car park. So yeah, come down this, you've gone too far. And so now this is going across to the entrance to the memorial. So there you go. It's open from 9 until 7 or 1700, 9 till 5 opening times. So this is a showing of other commemorative sites in the vicinity. So this is just inside the entrance. There is also a visitor centre and a cafe and bistro. So this is showing the arrival in camp, and I guess just round to the right here is where it happened, the railway station. So there's what's left of a platform and the railway line. So this is the entrance to the camp from the railway line, and it's a normal work for freedom on the gate. So we're going to have a wander through, and I guess this was it. So this is what you see when you come through that gate. It's a big open expanse here, and there's a few buildings and it goes quite a long way down. So we're going to have a wander around the site and see what there is to see. I don't know whether you can go into some of the buildings, but we'll find out. So that's it down there. So this is a maintenance building. It was built between 37-38 by the prisoners themselves. It served the needs of the prisoners camp and contains a kitchen, clothing supply room, bath, laundry and workshops. Yeah. So that's that lot over there. So that picture was taken from here, and I guess that bit of wall there wasn't there back in the day. So made the example of those who were exterminated here between 1933 and 1945 because they resisted Nazism, helped to unite the living for the defence of peace and the freedom and in respect for their fellow men. So I guess that's a memorial. So this tells of the living conditions of the prisoners were oppressive and were from the very beginning, from 1936, they continuously worsened. The maltreatment inflicted by the SS guards increased, and the exploitation of the prisoners' labour were systematised. Between 1933 and 1955, 35,000 prisoners were incarcerated, most of whom were then released. Over 500 prisoners nevertheless died. So this is part of the maintenance building that served all the prisoners. This is just a look at some of the archives and equipment that was used, and showing some of the horrors that was meted out on the prisoners. This shows the layout of the camp as it was in 1945. As you can see, it's massive. And that's an aerial photo of the site. It just beggars belief, and if you have a look out the window there, you can see the size of it. This shows the development of Dachau concentration camp from 1933 to 1945. So this is what the camp would have looked like in 1933. This is what the camp looked like in 1938. And then the expansion of it from 43 to 44. So there's a cinema here, and they're going to show a film, and it's in several different languages: English, German, French, Spanish even. So the Dachau concentration camp. I've just come out of the film, and it lasts for about 45 minutes, or about 40 minutes. Well worth watching. Gives the history of the place and some of the horrors that took place here. So if you do come to Dachau concentration camp, go and have a watch of the video. Now, although Dachau was the main camp, it also had a lot of sub-camps that were associated to it. So this is what the bunkhouse looked like. Just imagine what it was like there in the summer on the top bunk and the poor buggers on the bottom bunk. Might have been cooler, but yeah, they got wet during the night, I guess. Just looking out the window here, all those raised bits that you can see are all what were barrack blocks, and yeah, and the other side of the trees there were dozens and dozens of blocks, all like this one, and these were the sleeping quarters after 1939 or 38. So yeah, not pleasant conditions. So this is one of the mess halls, and each prisoner had their own little wash lane and a stool and tables. It's like the toilet block for the whole place. No privacy here then. No sitting down for 5 minutes reading the paper. So this is looking at, I've just come out of this building here. It was an accommodation block, and they'd come out of here onto this square for a pal, morning and evening, and they would be given tasks for the day, I guess, or they already had their jobs which they needed to do. It's a big old site, and just over the back there you can see the memorial that the International Committee set up after the war. So this is looking down the side of this block that I've just come out of, and looking just over the back there you can see there were dozens and dozens of these blocks. It must have been an absolute nightmare living here during the time. And across the road there's also the same amount of blocks going all the way back. Now the film tells you about the overcrowding, especially after sort of 44, when the Allies started to make inroads, and the Germans were moving prisoners out of different camps. Lots of prisoners from Auschwitz were here when the Russians were approaching Auschwitz, and they took them out of these camps and they force marched them. So this shows an infirmary. There's the medical experiments that were done on people here was outrageous, and in the film it tells you about some of the people who are still dying several years after the war of the experiments that were done to them during that time. This is the Catholic memorial. And it's just a look back at the amount of people that's here, but the amount of barrack blocks that were here that housed prisoners. And that there is the Catholic memorial. This is the memorial to the Jews, and that's a Psalm 9:21. Looks like there's a Carmelite convent here, so I'm just going to have a quick look at that. So this is the convent. I haven't seen any nuns, but there's a little chapel there, and I guess their living accommodations down there. So this is the Protestant Church of Reconciliation. So looks like they've got a few churches on site to remember those that died here from 1933 to 1945 and beyond, I guess. The site is massive. Well, that's about it. That's just behind the trees there is where the crematoria is. So I thought a little bit disrespectful to go and sort of video that, so I'm now going to head to the cafe just at the entrance. I think I've covered most of the areas in here, give you a really good idea of what is at Dachau concentration camp memorial. Actually well worth the visit. It's one of those things, you can never change history, you can only learn from it. And if you want to learn from history, this is one of the places to come and do it. Dachau concentration camp memorial. It's just have a look round. The site is huge, and you can only imagine the horrors that were meted out here. And this wasn't predominantly a Jewish one. This was the first of the concentration camps, and they generally put in political prisoners to start with. So yeah, there's a lot of satellite places that they opened up during the war that fed into this place and fed out as well, pushed people out to go to work, forced labour. So yeah, it's worth the visit, really is. You only pay for the car park, and then the entrance is free. Yeah, free to work, yeah. Anyway, so that's it from me, from Dachau Concentration Memorial Camp.